Two tropical invest areas could develop this weekend, and both could bring impacts to our area. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. It's nice to see you on this Friday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, the latest information on the two different tropical invests. One looks to be on the brink of development. We'll take a look at all the latest information with that, where they're going, the impacts. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast. It's a busy time of the year, my friends. Let's get started. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season. As a storm moves into your area, you get damage of any kind. They can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanomelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, I want to hear from the fantastic weather community. Let me know in the comments section below what's been happening in your area. As we move along in the video, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below as well. So this is the broad perspective. We have our area in orange, our southern latitude track, Invest 99L in the Atlantic Basin, and Invest 90L, which is pulling away from the Leeward Islands and the Lesser Antilles in general. But as it's doing so, it's beginning to wrap up. So we're going to look at the current states of both of these to begin the video. Invest 90L, winds are 30 miles an hour, fairly good forward speed to the northwest at 17. Now a 90% chance of development from the hurricane center. But again, this continues to move away from our area. So from the Anguilla area here, late on this Friday, the center of circulation is about 260 miles north and to the east. And again, it is moving away and headed kind of in a due north pattern at this point in time. So let's take a look at what it looks like here on the sandwich product. This is going to be your infrared and visible satellite imagery together. It's still not completely there as far as development on all four quadrants. Good blow up of thunderstorms on the northern side. We're beginning to see a little bit of this wrap back behind. I believe that given another 12 hours or so, we're more than likely going to have ourselves a tropical depression, or maybe even right to a tropical storm. So this is high likelihood of development. Unfortunately, when we look at this this red track, it does again put our friends in Bermuda, which just got scraped by Hurricane Erin the last couple of days, back into the you have to monitor this scenario over the weekend, because there could be a developing tropical storm getting stronger and stronger as it's headed up towards Bermuda. And it's not out of the question, the Hurricane Center said this officially, that if this does become a tropical storm, that we might have to start to see some watches or warnings issued for Bermuda sometime on Saturday. These are our spaghetti plots, our tropical models. Now, there has been a little bit of a shift compared to yesterday, where the majority or the cluster of the models bring it just to the east of Bermuda as we get late into the weekend. Again, pretty good forward speed means there's not a lot of time to be monitoring this, which is also decent in the fact that it's not going to have a ton of time to develop, but we know how these systems go with Erin. They could still quickly develop. But this would put Bermuda on the western, weaker side of the storm. So not all is bad news here, but again, another close shave is possible with Bermuda out of Invest 90L. So again, that's one to closely monitor. The second one to monitor is 90L. Now, this is the one that looked really impressive yesterday, but we knew all along that, especially starting today for the next day or two, it would be fighting some dry air and shear. And you can clearly see that. This is enveloped in a layer of Saharan dust. And if you live in the Eastern Caribbean, you've had some hazy sunshine from time to time. Now, it's still generating its own moisture. It's just very elongated right now. And there's no true low-level center of circulation that's wrapped up in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of an elongated area of showers and storms. So, the Hurricane Center has actually dropped it back down to a 40% chance of development. But this is one we have to really closely monitor, because if it can hold on, it gets into a little bit more favorable environment closer to the Windward Islands late this weekend and early next week, and could develop and strengthen a little bit as it gets closer to Barbados and the Windward Islands in general. Again, this is going to be a very low latitude tracking storm. From the island of Barbados right now to where the broad center is, we're still right around 1,200 miles. So there is some time to monitor this. I don't expect it to get much better and organized at least through late Saturday or even early on Sunday. And by that that point in time, it could be completely dissipated. It's not out of the question that this does fall apart with the shear in the drier air. Again, on the visible satellite imagery here, before we kind of lose it at the end of the day, it's still okay looking, but it's a very broad area, and you notice that even in the last couple of frames, it becomes even more elongated. But just like I told my friends in Bermuda, if you do live in Martinique and St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, this is a disturbance to be monitoring late into the weekend for potential development and some impacts. The good news is, and we'll take a look at the models coming up, that even if it does develop, it's probably going to be a very weak one to do so. But the tropical models that are running on this are all pretty consistent right now, kind of right into that Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada area, with a couple to the north towards Guadeloupe and a couple a little bit more off towards the south. So that's the latest kind of synopsis of the two invest areas. We'll get a deeper dive into the models coming up here in just a second. But before we move on, I want to talk more about what's happening across their area on this late Friday. Now, we're getting a little bit of moisture to seep back into the eastern side of the Caribbean right now. That's spelling some cloudy skies. That's spelling a couple of showers back here. And again, it's still pretty spotty in nature overall. A live look outside to Corinth, St. Lucia. And you actually have, if you look at the foreground, take myself off camera, kind of a sun shower rolling through the area right now. It's nothing more than that, but just a little bit of drippy rain coming in with, again, a little bit of sun in the background. So quick passing showers here in the forecast for the southern half of the Lesser Antilles for today. Obviously, as you get a little bit farther to the north, you're going to get into just a little bit more influence from Invest 90L. Now it's pulling away. We've had some moisture. And again, just a little bit more, if we pick up a south wind here, we're going to throw some showers in. So the interesting thing is, for places like Anguilla and St. Barts and St. Martin and Saba, St. Eustatius, Barbuda, Antigua, Montserrat, even though the system is pulling away, as winds turn out of the south, I actually have some pretty good rain chances overall in this area for your Saturday. So some tropical moisture will kind of be sitting overhead, and the opportunity to see some of these showers. You can kind of clearly see the tail of this just slipping through the Leeward Islands. It's been a relatively comfortable day, quiet day for the most part here for my friends in the Virgin Islands. A couple of passing showers in the forecast for today, but nothing more than that. Fresh breeze is your gusts in miles an hour. St. Croix, Christiansted area, 25-mile-an-hour breeze earlier. San Juan, about a 22. Aguadilla, about a 20. And again, few moving showers in this area. Getting a little bit of a convergence right now in the eastern sides of the Dominican Republic. This could spell a few more showers later in the day for Santo Domingo, La Romana, Punta Cana areas. But at this point in time, when I zoom out, we're void of any lightning in this area. So it's kind of developing showers right now. But going back over to the water vapor imagery, we are entrenched in a little bit drier air right now. There is, again, a little bit of Sahara dust, a little bit of haze. So we're fighting some of that activity at this point in time. More moisture-laden air back over the southeast Bahamas and portions of Turks and Caicos will once again spell some spotty showers across the area on this Friday. Nothing that's going to be extremely concentrated for today. We're looking pretty good for Grand Turk on over towards Mayaguana. In the Acklands, we're actually building some thunderstorms at the hour in portions of the central Bahamas, but it's going rowdy right now in the northern Bahamas. Let's take a look at these thunderstorms. Got the live radar to show you here out of the Miami area. So let's bring up that. I'll drop off the satellite data at this point in time. So thunderstorms that are pushing off of the east coast of Florida with the west coast sea breeze have been able to invade places like Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock, West End areas, the Abacos, good thunderstorms over Little Abaco and the Marsh Harbor area, a couple near Bimini, and beginning to really getting going here towards Andros Town on the island of Andros and trying to slip off towards the east, towards Nassau, New Providence. But it's been a pretty, good thunderstorm developing afternoon, and look at all of the lightning. Now, again, as of the recording of this video, if you look off to the west from Grand Bahama, Freeport, West End areas, this is a line of very stout storms that'll try and work its way in, Bimini included and Walker's Key. There could be a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings or advisories issued, so make sure you check it with local government and local officials. But the weather should be going downhill later on this Friday in the northwest Bahamas. Can't even rule out a water spout, some heavier downpours. The lightning is going to be running the boaters back into safe harbor. So just keep that in mind. That's some active weather this far north. Now, when we get as far south as Eleuthera, we have a couple of rumbles of thunder, but the live look from our video here, our live stream from central Eleuthera at Governor's Harbor, the live camera, it's actually looking pretty nice from this vantage point here, even though, again, you look up just to the north from our live radar, you've got some pretty healthy thunderstorms just to your north and to the west. Slip back over to my friends in Jamaica at the hour. It's been a relatively quiet day. Now, you know, a lot of you guys have mentioned across the Caribbean, Rusty, look, when it has not been raining, it's been hot. Montego Bay today got up to around 94 daytime high. There feels like temperature 103 degrees Fahrenheit. It's rough when we don't get the showers and storms, and it is a quieter afternoon here overall for the western side of the Caribbean. Just a couple of thunderstorms. Even in Cuba at the hour, things have not developed as they have most of the week. A few more thunderstorms from Cienfuegos to Havana, but central in the eastern sides of the islands, just starting to see a couple of showers develop. Relatively dry for my friends in the Cayman Islands, which means it's been a hot forecast. A little bit drier as well in the Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Cancun, Cozumel. So it's getting hot in the Merida area there, Campeche as well. The Chetumal area on over towards Orange Walk, San Pedro, Belize City. This is an area that has had some nighttime showers and storms. We're developing some activity inland right now and still can't rule out a couple of passing showers here late in the day, even towards the Bay Islands. If you live in Roatan, Guanaja, Utila, even towards San Pedro Sula and La Ceiba, it's scattered in nature. We'll talk about some better storm chances for you guys coming up. More thunderstorms, the southern sides of Nicaragua on over towards Costa Rica and Panama, and yet another lovely afternoon for our friends in the ABC Islands. If you look off to the south, you're going to try and see some clouds and moisture developing right now. We have some breeze. It's been fresh from time to time at Oranjestad, but not outrageous, and just another sun-glistened late Friday. Gotta love this shot here on Oranjestad as we take this camera and pan it off towards the east, which will be looking back towards the north. It's just a gorgeous shot there. So let's get into the forecast, friends. As we do so, I really do appreciate you guys taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you want these tropical updates and your daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you found your home. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all those who have found other ways to support the channel as well. All right, now we get into the model data with our two invest areas and your island by island forecast. One quick note on Aaron, it has become post-tropical. Last advisory from the Hurricane Center late today, beach weather is still absolutely horrible. The rip current risk is severe for the east coast of the United States with some near gale conditions in portions of coastal Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So it's a big wind maker right now, churning up the seas as it moves into the northern Atlantic. Let's get into the forecast. I'm going to start off with the reflectivity, and then we'll take a look at the winds and what we call the wind vectors as well as that loops up. Quick sip of my diet green tea to keep motivated here and keep talking. So let's look at 90L. This is the one of the greatest concern to become a stronger system in the next couple of days. This is the GFS model. Now look, is it extremely robust? No. But could we end up getting a medium to high-end tropical storm that will try and move towards Bermuda at the end of the weekend? It certainly looks plausible. Again, when I put on the spaghetti model plots here, you're going to see that they basically follow what the GFS is showing. So I do believe that this will have a close brush with Bermuda late Sunday and into early on Monday, whatever it ends up becoming, right? Even if it just stays as a disturbance, although again, there's a 90% chance that this does develop. So our friends in Bermuda need to pay attention over the weekend, again, for, tropical storm conditions potentially coming back into your area and potentially getting some watches or warnings issued for you guys on Saturday for this disturbance. This is what it looks like on the model with the winds, the GFS wind model here. And take off the spaghetti plots for you guys so it's a little bit easier for you to see. So you do have a wrapped up system. Now it's tiny, right? It's tiny and it doesn't really strengthen much more than that. So, a small system, potentially the tropical storm force winds won't go too far out from the center of circulation. But if we look at the GFS model as we get into early Monday morning here, it's going to be passing Bermuda. If we just take this, maybe 100 miles or so south and east. But we don't really have a good grasp yet on exactly where this is headed or how strong it's going to be. As I've mentioned many, many times in these videos, when it came to Aaron, the models have a very good handle on track, and they're still quite poor on intensity because they simply can't handle how quickly some of these storms can develop. So we have to take the intensity model here with the GFS with a big grain of salt. But if you live in Bermuda, make sure that you stay weather aware through the rest of the weekend as well. This is what it looks like on the European model. Pinpointed Bermuda. This is the ensemble products. Yesterday, the European model was west of Bermuda. Today, it is east, just like the GFS. Again, this is a better solution because it puts you on the weaker western side of the storm. Your winds will be a little bit more out of the north, but just not as strong as on the eastern right front quadrant of this thing. So we want it to go east if it is going to develop, if it gets closer to Bermuda. So it's not the worst case scenario. Again, timing wise, weather going downhill throughout, especially the latter half of Sunday, overnight, and then through the first half of Monday, but still having some forward speed. And again, Ferdinand is the next named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. And look, it's not out of the question that 90L becomes Ferdinand and 99L becomes Gabrielle. That's a lower end chance to get the one farther to the south to develop, but it's certainly not out of the question. So let's look at this one now. Again, about 1,200 miles from Barbados at this point in time. I'll bring back up the reflectivity product and we'll look at the winds overall with this one. Again, this is going to be struggling. You're not going to see a ton come up here. It's clear, obviously, that you get some sloppy rain, if nothing else, coming into the Windward Islands as we get into Sunday night, and into early on Monday. You can clearly see that beginning to slip through. So does this wrap up and have a low-level center, or just end up being a fair amount of rain and some squally conditions, surf and sea conditions going downhill Sunday and Monday for Dominica, especially Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including Carriacou and Bequia, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad, maybe as far south as Tobago, maybe as far south as Trinidad, but certainly these areas in orange, a little bit more closer approach of whatever this is going to end up being. But it's good to see, that the GFS model is so weak and sloppy with this. When we look at it on the wind profile, and again, these are sustained winds. So, we would be looking for 40-mile-an-hour winds here sustained on this to get, a tropical storm out of this. So let me loop that up for you guys. And again, you're going to see a system that it just really isn't fully there the entire time. Certainly a good push of wind, right? And you can see that in those whites and those winds freshen up across the entire Eastern Caribbean, but nothing with a true low-level center here on the GFS model. Now, I want to show you guys the wind vectors out of this and loop this up. So this is another kind of perspective. This is going to show you the wind direction. The colors are going to be the strength of the winds. You get the purples, you're into 20-mile-an-hour winds, pinks 25 to whites above 30. There is going to be a lot of wind coming into the Eastern Caribbean regardless of development. It's not just going to be in that area in orange. This should be an elongated system. So I do expect the winds to freshen up in the Leeward Islands, in the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico, eventually into the southern sides and the eastern sides of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Fresh winds coming back into the ABC Islands as well. So this is going to be a stout disturbance at the least, and probably at the worst, a low-end tropical storm. But does it hold together to get into more favorable conditions here in the Eastern Caribbean? We'll have to see. Here's the European model on this. I'll step over to this side of the screen. As we get, again, into the early part of Sunday, we have a couple of the ensemble members holding on to a low-level center, but most of them don't have this developing. Again, this is Sunday morning, a couple hundred miles east of Barbados. This is what it looks like on the ensemble members of the GFS, right? So you do have relatively, decent here. And actually, this is not the GFS. This is the tropical model. So I apologize for that. So the tropical models here, you do have a good cluster, as you see, if it does hold together. This is the European model tracks. Again, you have some of them developing the system. If it does, you have that central point kind of over the St. Lucia area, just north of Barbados. But if you see these grays, these are fading storms with greater than 1,010 millibars of pressure. So you have fading ones. Only the green lines are something that could end up being a tropical depression or a weak tropical storm. So got to monitor it, but nothing is making me say, hey, listen, this is going to get going in a hurry, and it's going to be a strong storm moving into the Lesser Antilles in the Eastern Caribbean late Sunday and into Monday. It looks to be relatively weak regardless. So that's good news. Could bring some fresh rainfall, though, and some gusty winds, some, certainly some squally weather to those areas. Rest of the forecast looks like this, my friends. Let me bring up the reflectivity again. loop it back up. A couple of areas I want to point out. Now, in the northern Bahamas, it's been a wet, stormy late day here into the early evening, and we could run that back again on Saturday. Still very concentrated, though, northern Bahamas. I'm talking like Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, and the Abacos. You get even as far south as Andros and New Providence and Eleuthera, and the rain chances fall off relatively quickly. Central southeast Bahamas will see a couple of scattered showers. That would be about it. Despite the fact, again, that Invest 90L is pulling away, between the two invests, you're going to get a ton of tropical moisture. So rain chances overall for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands and the Lesser Antilles is not that bad, actually pretty elevated on your Saturday. It will begin to tail a bit on Sunday in the northern half, but stay elevated in the southern half because, again, of the potential of 99L coming in. But it is a wetter forecast overall for all of these areas in the short term, including our friends in the Dominican Republic. Look down the road, Punta Cana, Santo Domingo, Puerto Plata, even on over towards the Haitian side, Port-au-Prince. Rainfall will be high again. Can't rule out some flooding in the higher terrain because I do think we're going to get some good tropical moisture. Scattered showers for the ABC Islands, nothing outrageous. Still expecting it to be spotty in Jamaica. Nothing that really stands out from our friends here in Kingston, Port Moore, Spanish Town, Montego Bay, and Negril. Going to favor southern and then eventually western parishes by the end of the day, but a couple of showers early in the morning are possible in the eastern coastal parishes as well. Now, things will get a little bit more interesting here overall with our monsoon trough. We're getting into a more active pattern in the East Pacific. It's been quieter lately, but we now have an orange area out here, and it does look like the overall pattern might favor the Eastern Pacific next week to have more development compared to the Atlantic Basin. It's something I'm monitoring, but the monsoon trough spins back up, and so now we spin back in heavier rain back towards Honduras and Guatemala and Belize and even back into Quintana Roo as well. So our western areas should start to see wetter conditions, including some scattered showers over Grand Cayman. So this is what it looks like for you guys. Rain chance in your area. Northwest Bahamas, again, I don't have a ton, but the localized thunderstorms could still be prolific in some spots over the weekend. Central and Southeast Bahamas, again, not a ton. Turks and Caicos, maybe a little bit more Sunday and Monday. Cuba's rain chances will be highest on the western side of the island for the next couple of days. Cayman Islands rain chances kind of all over the place, but should be building again on Monday. And that's what you should see in general for the Western Caribbean. Building rain chances in Belize. Building rain chances in Cancun and Cozumel, highest over the next 3 days on Monday. Scattered rain for Jamaica, 30 tomorrow, 40 on Sunday and Monday. Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, best rain chances through the day tomorrow. Still can't rule out some locally heavier downpours. Take the rain when you get it, as long as it's not causing any flooding, because behind that we dry out and it gets stinking hot again as well. Bermuda's rain chances obviously building as whatever 90L becomes, approaches the island late Sunday and into Monday, so we'll be monitoring that for you guys. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, again, an 80% chance for rain for tomorrow, passing tropical downpours, and then we kind of just it goes away as 90L moves away. A lot drier air comes back in. Remember, there is some Saharan dust and some haze in the Eastern Caribbean. That's what 99L is fighting right now. So once that tropical moisture with the invest moves away, rain chances really fall very quickly for Antigua, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, high tomorrow, falling off. Now you get into the potential influence of 99L in places like Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, not as high as areas north, but they don't fall off as quickly Sunday and Monday. And in some areas will actually build. Barbados from a 40 tomorrow to a 60 on Sunday. And this is kind of the first blush shot. Right, if this falls apart, rain chances could be a little bit lower. If this gets more organized, rain chances could be higher, and obviously wind impacts would be going up. So I'll be monitoring that. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago again should see improving rain chances. Suriname and Guyana stay with some healthy showers and storms. Nueva Esparta will build in some rain and storms. Still not looking for a ton of rain in the ABC Islands. So, the other big thing is obviously what are the wave heights that what could be Ferdinand brings towards Bermuda. Obviously, there's been elevated sea conditions in the Western Basin for a while here because of what Aaron has done. And that looks to be a relatively small storm here. So you can see it building. So there will be some 10, 12, 14, maybe 18-foot waves out of this. Otherwise, again, the fresh easterlies coming in with whatever 90L is going to do is just going to turn things up again here. And we could start to see some more marine advisories for the Caribbean. Rainfall totals get interesting. Obviously, you're going to have a swath of some heavy rain as 90L pulls away. Again, more than likely becoming a depression or Ferdinand, there is a frontal boundary that's going to stall itself over Florida. Very local heavy rain through early to midweek that could drip into the northern Bahamas. So, several inches of rain could fall there. The monsoon trough really starts to spin in heftier rain across coastal sections of Belize and Guatemala and Honduras and Nicaragua, and very wet forecast for Costa Rica and Panama. And again, higher impacts rainfall total-wise, the southern half of the Lesser Antilles with 99L. Friends, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep you updated, and you can follow us across all of our social media platforms if you want to. We're on Instagram, TikTok, where from time to time we do some exclusive content. We have an X page, a Facebook page. You want to send me a picture or video, the simplest way to do that is myMediaMundo@gmail.com. And if you have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. I'm happy to answer that. While you're down there, again, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season, wind, hail, hurricane damage, even a burst pipe. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. They do offer free consultation and policy review, so you really have nothing to lose. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Keep you up to date on our invest, my friends. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.